All right, welcome into the video. This is Third and Wrong and your host today, Dylan. I am typically here with Mike and Gage, but they currently are busy and can't come to the video and to the mic and give their thoughts. So it's just going to be me today. But we're going to go over the trade deadline for the NFL and I'll give you some of my thoughts. I'll break down how the trades occurred and basically just give you my thoughts and give you a grade as well for the trades. So before I do, please drop a like, drop a comment, and subscribe. It really helps us out a bunch. But before we get into the rest of the video, enjoy this intro.
From the police in my trap shoes. Posted trying to flip 100, I come back full. Come from nothing, but I blossom to a tycoon. Betrayal scars, can't stop thinking about them stab wounds. We might not catch him today, but he gon' die soon.
Alright, before we get into the video, I just want to give a big shout out to everyone that has subscribed already. It definitely helps us out a bunch. And just going to say, this is a crazy trade deadline. I don't know if there's been more trades on the day of a trade deadline or more players traded on the day of the deadline than it has happened this year. Sorry, that's a mouthful. But I got on NFL's website, I got all the trades pulled up here. I'm just going to go on the ones that occurred this weekend. So I'm going to start off with the Roquan Smith trade, and then I'll go through all the rest of them as well. And I'll go and break down each trade, what happened, and then with each trade, I'll give you just my insights, and then I'll try to sum it up with a grade. And I'll give 2 grades actually, because a lot of these trades impact one team for this season, and then it benefits the other team, down the road with draft picks and stuff like that. So I'll give you my honest thoughts there, but let's just jump right into this. So the first one that we have, like I said, is the Bears trading Roquan Smith to the Baltimore Ravens. Roquan Smith, if you're not familiar, is a very prolific linebacker. I think he's second to Bobby Wagner with tackles since Roquan Smith has joined the league. And very good linebacker. He came out of Georgia, started off a little bit slow, but since then he's really picked up and become a very good linebacker. And it shows the value. The Baltimore Ravens gave up a linebacker, AJ Klein. He's not a starter necessarily, but they get someone that they don't have to go to a practice squad guy. They get someone like AJ Klein, and that's good. But the rest of it, the second round pick and the 5th round pick for this coming draft, shows the value of Roquan Smith. He wanted to get a contract done with the Bears. He represented himself, and they just could not come to an extension. And so the Bears are like, let's send you to a good team. And they sent him to the Ravens, who have had a great defense for a really long time. And he becomes probably one of the best linebackers that the Ravens have had since, Ray Lewis. Yeah, sorry, Ray Lewis. But I think obviously it is a good trade for both teams. I think it benefits the Ravens more immediately, obviously. I think it helps them out quite a bit. But this is going to benefit both teams long term as well, because the Bears get a second round draft pick, which I'm going to assume goes to a wide receiver. And then the Ravens get a Pro Bowl linebacker. They can throw an extension on him, get him paid, and have him around for quite a while. So I think overall, this benefits the Ravens a little bit more than it does the Bears, because they have the proven commodity. But I'm going to give A's on both sides. The Ravens get an A+ here. All right, moving on. We got an interesting trade. One of the first ones that happened the day of the deadline, November 1st. That's going to be a divisional trade, which doesn't usually happen, of TJ Hawkinson, tight end of the Detroit Lions, going to the Minnesota Vikings. Like I said, they're in a division, and typically you don't want to trade in your division because you have to play that player twice a year, and if they're a good player, you want to not play them, so you usually trade them out of your division, if not your conference, like the Bears did. But TJ Hawkinson, attached with a 4th round pick and a conditional 4th round pick, go to Minnesota. Detroit receives a 2023 2nd round pick and a 2024 3rd round draft pick. So they get, essentially, if they wanted to replace TJ Hawkinson with a tight end, those are the rounds you're going to draft one in. But really, it's an interesting move because, one, TJ Hawkinson is still promising as a tight end, and it's harder to find a good tight end that can be immediate and be a receiving threat. So it's an interesting trade. Sorry, excuse me there. But I'm going to give the win of this trade to the Minnesota Vikings. They still get more draft. They still have the same amount of draft picks. They just have lower draft picks than what they had before. And they get a really good receiving tight end. I think he can block pretty well. He's not necessarily known for it, but he does have great hands and great mobility with the ball in his hand as well. So it just adds into what Minnesota has on their offense. The Detroit, I guess they're retooling, still getting more and more picks, and hopefully they can make something of it. But I'm going to give this an A for the Vikings, and I'm going to give this a C for the Lions here. Mainly because you're not getting a player back. You still have to kind of gamble here with future draft capital. But maybe it helps you get a quarterback in a trade-up situation. Other than that, it's not much of a win, in my opinion, especially where you have to play Hawkinson twice. So the next one is another NFC North trade from the AFC North. So Chase Claypool, wide receiver for the Steelers, gets traded to the Chicago Bears for a 2nd round draft pick. No conditions or anything like that. Just, 2nd round draft pick. So this is a great move by the Steelers, mainly because Claypool isn't being used as a 2nd round receiver right now. He is very good when he gets thrown the ball, but he's not necessarily what you would imagine a 2nd round draft pick being in his 3rd or 4th year. And so they don't have to pay him. They don't have to put more resources to him. They get a 2nd round draft pick back from when they drafted him. So good deal for the Steelers there. This moves George Pickens up to wide receiver 2 and gives some of the younger wide receivers like Calvin Austin a chance to see the field as well. So this is a very good trade for the Steelers. The thing with the Bears right now is this is a good trade because he's a big body, he's fast, and can do a lot of things on the field. The only thing that worries me about it is you still don't have a great offensive line, and I don't think you have a great offensive coordinator right now at work. It doesn't seem like they're using Justin Fields to their fullest abilities. Maybe this helps with that, but given a 2nd round draft pick is not the worst thing in the world, especially with someone that I would say is a little bit more proven. He's not necessarily like a DK Metcalf or anyone that came out of the 2nd round draft, but he's a good wide receiver. He catches 50-50 balls pretty regularly. He's pretty quick, and they could develop a really good connection there. I do like this a little bit better than Darnell Mooney. Darnell Mooney is a better route runner, but Claypool is bigger, and he can just catch over people. So this helps out Chicago with their endless search for a wide receiver to pair with Justin Fields. I would say A+ for the Steelers, B+ with some positive potential for the Bears. The Steelers were not done yet with the trade realm. They added a cornerback from the Commanders, William Jackson III, and a 7th round draft pick came over from Washington. The Pittsburgh Steelers sent out a conditional 6th round draft pick. I don't know exactly the conditions on those picks, but essentially Commanders were going to release William Jackson. He hasn't really panned out. He hasn't really looked as good as he did when he was with the Bengals. And this gives them another cornerback to pair in that Steelers secondary. They've been getting torched, so hopefully William Jackson can return to form in the AFC North like he had been before. So this could help out the Steelers as well. They've been really poor at stopping the passing game, and Washington gets something in return instead of just cutting him. So obviously this trade wouldn't have happened if William Jackson just did not get any traction with Washington, but they make the most out of the situation. I'm going to give it a C+. Obviously it's just not great, paying someone and it's just not working out. And this is kind of the losers problem with this all. So you get a little bit of a bump in the draft. Who really cares? But I think this is a B- for the Steelers. It could be a lot better if he returns to form, but hardly ever happens with cornerbacks. Not a whole lot of cornerbacks take a hit out their confidence and then bounce back. So we'll see, but it's a decent deal. It's a deal that I guess would have been made. The Steelers would have picked him up anyways, but they get the priority over him. So the next trade here is going to be the Miami. Sorry, I can't speak today. The Miami Dolphins. They receive Bradley Chubb and a 5th-round draft pick, and they send the Denver Broncos Chase Edmonds, a 1st-round draft pick in 2023, so this next coming draft, and a 4th-round draft pick the draft after, so 2024. This is kind of surprising. I thought Bradley Chubb would be worth more of like a 2 first-round pick kind of deal, like what the Panthers are looking for Brian Burns. But Bradley Chubb is about to get paid. Doesn't look like the Broncos are expecting to be Super Bowl contenders at this moment. So there's really no reason to keep him around. They get another 1st-round draft pick that helps them out. Build around Russell Wilson. I'm not going to make too many jokes about that. And then the Broncos get a running back that they've needed. Chase just did not work in Miami. I think it's good for both sides for them to just part. So hopefully Chase can roll off the Broncos and pick up where he left off with Arizona. The reason why he went to Miami was he played very good there. But overall, this trade, I think it really helps Bradley Chubb a lot. He's going to get paid a lot. He's not going to have to pay sales tax when he plays in Miami, so that's super nice for him. But overall, I think this is going to be a A- for me from the Broncos. Obviously, you want to keep a Bradley Chubb around, but if you're not going to land on the same number and you need to get rid of him anyways, this could be a lot worse. So I think A- kind of fits for Denver here, or for Miami getting Bradley Chubb. For Denver, I would say it's about a B+ to A- here. It just depends on what you get in return after everything is all said and done. But this trade makes sense. It doesn't really hurt either side too much. Moving on, one of the more, I wouldn't say controversial, but polarizing trades of the week or the day is the Jaguars traded for a player that can't play this year. And we don't know exactly when he's going to be able to play. Calvin Ridley from the Atlanta Falcons is a great wide receiver and really showed he could be a wide receiver 1 with Atlanta. But right now, Atlanta is wanting to rebuild. They can't really count on a player that's not there. And I think he's coming up on a contract as well. So Atlanta gets a 2nd-round pick and a 5th-round pick. They both have conditions on them. I don't know exactly what the conditions are on that trade, but it could turn into a 1st-round pick, I believe, if Calvin Ridley signs a contract extension with the Jaguars. So we'll see how that all works out there. That condition is set for 2024, so obviously they would have to wait until 2 drafts from now to reap the benefit there. But it's a way to kind of move away from the situation, start new with your new franchise, rebuild and everything like that. Add some more firepower to the draft to help out what you're working on there in Atlanta. And then with Jacksonville on this one, I mean, obviously it's a risk. It's a big risk. Get a player that may not play. Well, he's definitely not playing this year, but he may not play at the beginning of next year as well. They might extend his suspension. So it's a risky trade. But if he gets on the field and they can sign a contract extension with him, He's probably the best wide receiver to go through there besides Justin Blackmon, who didn't even really get to play much. So Calvin Ridley would be exciting to see with Trevor Lawrence. Hopefully that works out for them. And yeah, so with this one, I'm going to give, B's just across the board. They're good trades, but nothing, crazy and nothing terrible. So I'll give B's for both sides of this trade. The next one is kind of a reaction to the 49ers getting Christian McCaffrey in a trade. It made Jeff Wilson expendable, who's been a good running back, but he hasn't been a world breaker, right? He has been a good running back. So Jeff Wilson goes to McDaniel, who is in Miami, kind of replaces Chase Edmonds, who they let walk away, essentially. Miami gave up a 5th-round draft pick to soothe the deal, but the Niners, had some spoils at running back position. I believe Jeff Wilson was undrafted free agent, so you're getting a draft pick out of someone you didn't even have to draft, which is super nice. So plus there for the Niners, and then the Dolphins, I think, are going to use Jeff Wilson really well, and it should be quick because Jeff Wilson has worked with McDaniels before. And running backs can learn offenses pretty quick, and their impact can be a lot faster. So I would say this is going to be B pluses. I don't think it changes either team too dramatically, but I think it makes a lot of sense on both sides to do it. The next one is going to be another Broncos trade. So they had just let go of Bradley Chubb, right? So they have a need at the edge position. The Jets have a lot of depth there, so they were willing to part with Jacob Martin in the 5th-round draft pick to move up into the 4th round. So not a game-breaking trade in any means, but Jacob Martin has been a solid vet. I think he will go in there, do a fine job, and it makes the Broncos defense not have a glaring hole. So a very good trade here. Honestly, it's not going to move the needle either way. It's not a very impactful trade, so I'll just give this one a B as well. Now, one that I think kind of impacts me the most here, being a Colts fan, very sad trade for me. Nyheim Hines has been one of the more fun aspects of being a Colts fan for the last couple of years. You have a short but very quick and dynamic running back who can run the ball, who can receive, be a receiver, play slot, play the, catch back role. He can punt return, he can kick return. He does a lot for you. And we did extend him. We're going to pay him around $8 to $9 million for the next 2 years. And I think it was just one of those things where we have Jonathan Taylor. We're going to get ready to pay him a bunch of money. We've got to pay money to other people as well. So you can't really have a Nyheim Hines, take up that kind of money right now, which is kind of sad. So we offloaded him to the Buffalo Bills for Zach Moss in return and a 5th-round draft pick. I believe this one is a conditional 6th that turns into a 5th if certain conditions are met. So it's a very interesting deal. I think getting anything back for a running back is always good. But Nyheim Hines to me makes a bigger impact. He just hasn't done that on the stat sheet. So yeah, you get a Zach Moss. I think he's a pretty good special teamer running back. So kind of makes up for some things there. But I'm glad that if he went to a team, it's going to be a team that's going to be in serious Super Bowl contention. He's going to uplift that team as well, and hopefully he can be a centerpiece of that offense when he gets rolling and going there. So sad to see him leave. I think this is an A trade for the Bills. I think this is more of a B for the Colts. It's not a great trade losing an impactful player. You get a pick back and you get some money to open up. So it is what it is, but not necessarily a great trade. The next one here is a kind of a small trade I think went under the radar. This is Rashad Fenton, a cornerback. The Chiefs got a conditional 7th-round draft pick for him. So, to be honest, I've never heard of Rashad Fenton, so I'm not going to give a breakdown on this. It is what it is. Sorry to not really know too much there. And then the last one here, the Falcons traded away Dean Marlowe, another DB out of the Falcons crew. They get another 7th round draft pick for that. So just getting something without having to cut those guys. I think this, helps out more of the special teams end of it. And the safeties at Buffalo have had some injuries, so it kind of helps with that, maybe just kind of smooth out the depth chart there. But other than that, that's kind of the rest of the trades here. Let me know what your thoughts are. I mean, I have my own opinions, but I want to hear from you guys. So if you can comment on this video, really helps us out. We'd love to respond to our viewers. So definitely drop a comment. We'll read it. We'll respond. And if you haven't already, drop a like and subscribe. Helps us out a bunch. But other than that, enjoy the rest of this NFL season. It is a crazy one. But peace out.